Welcome to Life Planning 101, brought to you by Kennedy Financial Services of Eastland. Tune in every Monday morning at 8:30 on KATX and KWBY, and again on Saturday morning at 9 on KATX and KWBY as Angela Robinson joins Terry Slavens to share important financial information to help you live life on purpose. Insurance, investments, estate and tax planning, and much more. All covered now on Life Planning 101.
Good morning, everyone. A marvelous Monday morning here on Life Planning 101, KATX and KWBY. Blakeney Hodges sitting in for Terry Slavens this week, and I will get to sit in with you next Monday as well, and then they'll be back. But anyways, yeah, all things financial planning, yes?
Yes, Life Planning 101 right here on KATX Radio. And, you know, I tell you what, it's just so fun doing this show every week. I truly enjoy it. It's probably one of the highlights of my entire week. And I guess the reasons why is I'm never without ideas to come with. And I think, you know, you have things happen that you feel passionate about, and you see a need that people need to have an awareness about or know about. And I think that's what makes it so fun, is to know that, you know, all of our listeners, whether you do something about it or not, you can't say you didn't know.
Exactly. So, yes.
You know, putting that awareness out there is great. And this week is no different. And today we are going to talk about one of those awareness facts. And I want to start by telling you a story of something that we went through a few years ago with a client. We received a phone call, and this was back, for those of you that know Maggie, worked in our office. Gosh, she worked, I don't know, with Dad close, what was it, over 20 years at least.
Oh, yeah,
and,
for a minute.
Yeah, and she kind of raised me in the business, I guess you could say, because I'd go in there, I had to start, first thing she had me do was call people I didn't know. It's like cold calling. And
you're like,
so anyway, but she was a great trainer to me. But if anybody knew Maggie, her heart was just gold, and families that we work for loved her just like, you know, we loved them, and it was truly a great relationship. And she came in one day and she said, I had a weird phone call, and I think someone needs to listen to this. And a guy had called, and he had claimed to be the power of attorney for a client that we were unable to get a hold of. We have what's called a 90-day no contact system. We were unable to get a hold of, and we've been trying to reach her current power of attorney, and no success. And, you know, at that time, there was no such thing as a trusted contact. Today, we have trusted contacts. So if something like that happens, you know, we've taken lots of preventative measures because of this. But, you know, this guy calls and he says, I'm so-and-so's power of attorney. And this is somebody we've never heard of. We've been working with this lady for 18 years. It's not, you know, she doesn't have any family. She doesn't have any kids or husband or anything. She had a brother. She's a minister, and, you know, she's big in her church. And so the people that we knew on the documents were people around her at church. And he said, well, I go to church with her. And so, of course, okay, antennas come down a little bit, but they're still up. And by the way, we've had to put her in care. Her Alzheimer's has gotten so bad that she is not able to do anything for herself anymore. So our first step is, and by the way, this particular client lives a good distance away. And so our first step was to try again to reach out to the person that we had on file to be able to contact that power of attorney if something were to happen. We did get her this time, and she said, yes, that did happen. And so has left us mentally for the most part. It's been a rough month and a half or so getting her moved, and that's why we haven't, you know, done anything, and everything's kind of on autopilot. And the nursing home has been helping us through all of the healthcare piece and all of this. So they had gotten in the right track, and she said, this guy, yep, he is legit, you know, he's right, blah, blah, blah. So we said, okay. He said, well, since you're still actively involved, we're going to ask him that y'all have kind of a checks and balances system. Can we come down, and we'd like to go through a plan of what you know needs to happen, and go through what we need to be working on, what, you know, all of the things that come with someone, you know, ending up in a situation like that. You don't think about things like you having to sell the house and the personal possessions and what to do with them. And we had a lot of records of what to do with certain things. So that was where we fit into this situation. So anyway, we go down there and everything seems great. And she is having the previous power of attorney, come to find out, she's having a lot of family issues on her own half. And she says, I really just cannot do this. You know, you guys, he's going to have to ask you for money. You know, this should be good enough, right? We're going to be good. So she bowed out of the ability to be able to help, which I think is why she was taken from the documents in the first place. Well, everything was going fine and dandy for first month or so. And then we got a request for like $22,000. Well, this is a lady that she's got full long-term care coverage. Her facility's being paid for 100%. This is a lady that has pension income, high pension income. So there's tons of income flowing in, Social Security flowing in. And so she would never take out more than $5,000 a month if she needed it. And it was really just to play on. So we kind of knew we did know what the expenses are. I mean, this is somebody we've been working with for, almost 2 decades. And so we sit there and we're like, okay, now what's happening? And the first check we reluctantly send out by his request. He is the power of attorney. I mean, he's got the legal authority to ask, and so we sent it. And we, of course, spoke with our compliance department. What can we do, because we smell something here? And they said, well, just ask for confirmation, ask for receipts, ask for, what is he spending this money on, where is it going? And we'd even talked about him compensating himself, and he never gave us a dollar amount of what he was going to compensate himself. And we wanted to know that dollar amount, so we had it clean for the records in case there was anybody that came back and asked about it. Well, he didn't like our requests. Second month goes by. Another request for close to $22,000 comes in. So we immediately say, okay, we'd really like to see this. We need to be able to see this. This is part of our due diligence. This is part of our fiduciary responsibility with this. We can't, be in this position. And he refused. So we started going through the protocol of what we felt was, this is an elder abuse case. This is somebody that is getting taken advantage of because he knows her situation. She doesn't have kids, husband, no one there, right? Yeah. And she's just getting rocked. And who's really getting rocked is because at her death, all this money was supposed to go to charities. Okay, so it was heartbreaking to watch this happen. And so, anyway, we start going through the protocol. It's not just an easy overnight. You can go slap handcuffs on someone like that. You don't even know that, you don't know what you don't know, right? Yeah. Okay. So, before we knew it, the money was getting transferred out. We got a notice that the accounts were closing. The money was all the investments were transferring out. And there's over $1 million in this. So this essentially, account. He's like closing out. Yeah, closing out the accounts. Yeah. So we did some behind the scenes work. Obviously, the way we do business, we're able to find out, where things are going. We'll come to find out through a little research. They're going to his brothers, under his brother's management. Yeah. ... Okay. Now, obviously, we don't know the rest of the story. We don't know what happened. She was in such a state at that time. She had no clue. I mean, we couldn't even. I mean, we went and saw her. Funny thing was, she was in the same exact healthcare facility as my grandmother. Oh. So I would go see my grandmother and go see her at the same time, and go in there. She got to the point, for a while she would recognize me, but after a while she didn't even know who I was. And so, her care was continued to be provided for, but there was insurance. So we don't know what we don't know. Yeah. And, it kind of stopped. Now, I think the good news is there's a lot since that time, because I said this a few years back. So since that time, there's been a lot of different changes with elder abuse and preventative, and allowing us more authority to be able to do some things. And
to be able to step in and stop that from happening.
Yes. And, at that time there just wasn't. And the factual piece of this is that elder abuse is real. And yes, this was a woman that was single and didn't have any kids or anything like that, but this happens way more than just to single people without kids. And I just did some research and I looked up some stats, and get this, there's an estimate that as high as 5 million elderly people are abused each year. 5 million. That's like almost the population of what, Dallas?
That's huge.
That's huge, right? And worse is the fact that it is estimated that only 1 in 14 cases are actually reported. So there's 5 million reported.
That's staggeringly low.
It is, right?
And only 1 in 14.
Yeah, and only 1 in 14. And I'll tell you why, and it's really makes things worse, not better, is that they estimate that 2/3 of elder abuse is committed by a family member,
That's what I was going to say.
a friend, or someone that's a trusted individual, right? And so this is sick, right? There's just no other way to say this. But, it's a question. How do you protect your parents? How do you protect yourself? How do you find it? What do you do so that you aren't a victim to this, or that, your parents aren't a victim to this? I believe most people on our show are people that are probably in a place that they don't feel like they're going to be a victim of elder abuse in the near future, but probably they're in a place that they feel like their parents could definitely be in that place. So that's what this show is all about today. When I come back, I want to talk to you about how elder abuse actually happens, because I think there's a misnomer about this. Being aware of things that you may not know to be aware of, and then how do you go to work on being able to protect it, because it can be done. It's just a matter of, what do I say? Get off your rear and do it, right? But this is some great information, and like I say, this show is a wonderful place for people to be able to get information, and I don't want you to be overwhelmed. So if you have a minute during the break, you're not driving, this is my disclosure, you can obviously go on our website, sign up for our newsletter, because tomorrow you're going to see an article come out with all of these steps that are written out, and it'd be like a game plan for you to follow. Very valuable information. So make sure you do that at Kennedy-financial.com. And when we come back, we're going to talk about how to protect your parents right here on Life Planning 101.
Welcome back in Life Planning 101 right here on KATX KWBY. Angela Robinson in the house.
Yes, and we're talking about such a lively, lovely, wonderful topic, right? Elder abuse.
But it's necessary.
Unfortunately, it is.
Unfortunately, yeah.
I was having a conversation the other day about gun violence with someone, and someone said, it's even sad that we're having to have this conversation. And this is one of those things. It's sad that we're having to have this conversation, but if you don't wake up and smell the roses that this could happen to you or your family members, you're just blind.
You're just living under a rock.
Yeah, I mean, there are so many people that this can happen to, and I'm sorry to say, but your siblings could be the people that are doing it to your parents, or you got to wake up and really realize the dangers that are here. And so that's where I want to start, is how does elder abuse actually happen? Because I think a lot of people think it's always just a salesman or a scam artist, a con man,
or somebody that sits with the elderly or something.
Exactly.
Not trying to. I'm not. Anyways, I'm just saying.
Right. That's what people believe. They have this deal. So I think it's important for you to know the variety that actually happens out there. You know your scams, right? Your telephone, your emails, your internet, mail, door-to-door salesman, right? Identity theft, tax theft. We've seen that a lot. And, and that's been the headline, for the last 2-3 years. Annuity fraud. Good gosh, what was that deal? This has been years ago, about the woman that had died and her family kept her in the house, and the neighbors reported a smell. And they had kept receiving the annuity payments and the Social Security payments, and she'd been dead for like 6 months, and they just left her. Yes.
To keep getting the checks.
Yes, to getting the checks. Okay, so this is real stuff that's out here. Okay, con artists. All right, and last but not least, like we mentioned, by the people that are closest to you, and here's how they do it: set up powers of attorney. Well, I need to do that so it'd just be easy for us to get this done, right? I'll tell you a personal story. I think there's a reason I have such a passion about this topic is my grandmother. She was in a third marriage, and I don't think anybody really trusted her last husband. He just wasn't a great man, and he certainly didn't have anything to bring to the table in the marriage. And we're very kind in the beginning, and she showed everything. This is how things are laid out. This is how they're going to be, yada, yada, yada. Well, she started getting ill herself. As I mentioned in the first break, she was in a nursing home too. And every time I went down there, the legal documents had changed. Yeah. And he had convinced her to go to the attorney and get the power of attorney changed. Well, what does the power of attorney do? Power of attorney allows you to basically be that person in a financial capacity. Okay, so this is big stuff. In people that are closest to people, that's how it's going to happen. Joint bank accounts. A lot of people don't realize that when you set up a bank account with someone, they're a joint owner. Okay, now you put them on a signer, yeah, they can still access that money. So you just got to be careful. Use of credit cards. You know, I see older people all the time, just take this credit card, have it so you can use it. And
make you an authorized user.
Exactly. Debit cards, overbilling. Okay. So in fact, I saw this, someone had told me about getting a yard cleanup done, and this sweet little widow was telling me about it. She was saying how much she paid. And I said, no, no. I said, you give me his name and number.
Give him a what?
I called her raised tech, and she got money back. But you know, you get overbilling, right?
Yeah.
And then threats, and then. You know, the second thing is, you know, building an awareness around your parents' situation. This is something that I know people don't do. And the reason I know people don't do is because even the parents don't have it all together, all figured out. I talk about a lady that we started working with in 2012, and we see her twice a year, face to face. And every single time we go to see her, now we do her holistic. I mean, like we are like a family office in a capacity for her. Mm-hmm. But every time we go to see her, we find another asset. Okay. All right. So this is a real deal, is that even if the parents don't know where everything is. Yeah. So it's extremely important for you to know, what are these account values? What are the location of the accounts? Right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Credit cards, shop accounts, know the name people in their documents. Know who these people are. Are they updated? Are they old? Are they people that your parents used to trust, but maybe not anymore, so much today, right? And that happens a lot. Other designated contact, talk to their trusted advisors. You know, if they're CPAs or attorneys or financial advisors, whoever those are, anybody that provides professional service to them, in other words. And then, you know, workers and caregivers around the home. You need to build an awareness of this group of people and have your antennas up. You know, be on the lookout of what should I be looking for? What should I be asking about? And there's some great questions and things for you to be doing you don't want to miss right here when we come back on Life Planning 101.
Welcome back in Life Planning 101, third and final segment this Monday morning. Angela Robinson on air live.
Yes.
Well, live on Monday morning, not on Saturday, it's a retake. But
funny story, I saw someone at a kids football game and they said, you were just, how did you do that? I wasn't on live. I would go on live Monday.
I get that a lot. They're like, but you were just, and I'm like, man,
yeah,
we have voice tracking abilities.
Exactly. right. We're magic. Yeah. But yeah, we're talking about elder abuse, how real it is, protecting your parents. You know, we talked about some great stories, and I want to leave you this last segment with how to go to work on protecting your parents, maybe even protecting yourself. And I think it's really important, you know, more and more, and I need to do a show on this. I need to have an expert come on and talk about this. But I think more and more, it's important for you to have that plan in place before your parents become to a place that they can't make great decisions for themselves. And a lot of people say, and I've got family members just like this. Well, that's just not going to happen to me, or that's not, you know. And I don't laugh at them when they say it, but in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, well, if we don't have this conversation now, you're either going to tear the family apart, not talking about it, or everybody's going to be so stressed that the young kids in the family are going to be victims of this whole deal. So you take your pick. What do you want, right? And, you know, we have a situation we're going through right now. We have a gentleman, he has Alzheimer's, and his wife has Parkinson's, which is turned into dementia. And they have stopped using their computer. They have, you know, accidentally bought stuff, they've gone through this. So, you know, having that emergency plan in place of what is and it needs to happen is probably the biggest thing you can do. But, you know, just anyone needs to probably follow these rules of just monitoring your systems and having things in place and having that wherewithal. Mm-hmm. You know this. Update your computer systems, your electronic devices. If you don't update them, what's going to happen? You're going to get viruses, malware, all this stuff, right? So same thing you do for you, do for your parents. Mm-hmm. Create a system to safely manage passwords. Okay. Yeah. So you need to have a system that you're able to know where that's at. In this state, we have what's called a RUFIDA, that, you know, you have to have someone at death to be able to be a digital estate fiduciary in a sense. And that's becoming nationwide slowly. And if you don't have it, you can't. You see these dead people on Facebook. A lot of reasons that there's dead people on Facebook is because no one has access to that account.
Yeah.
Okay, and you don't realize that. So, having that system is not only great for just managing, fraud and elder abuse, but forever. It's really, really good, right? Make sure their Wi-Fi is protected. When I go to a hotel room, just so you know, like I obviously could log on to the hotel's Wi-Fi and work, but if I can't get through a sonic wall, I don't do it.
Yeah.
Because people can access your computer through Wi-Fi, and people don't realize you can do it in an airport.
That's what my husband says. He's like, don't. It's a hacker's playground. I'm like, okay.
It is a hacker's playground. Exactly.
Just pay for unlimited data.
And do you really think elder people are going to be able to understand that? No, they're not. So, making sure that you have things protected. Sign up for credit monitoring. I do this. I have credit monitoring. I'm young, right? But
yeah.
I mean, people, I once was at at a seminar, and they said, your information's out there. It's out there. It's already stolen. It's just a matter of not if they're going to use it. Okay? Think about that.
I'll stop in your tracks.
Yeah, it will. So monitor your credit. Consider a credit freeze in some situations. I mean, if you have elder parents, what's the likelihood that they're going to go try to apply for credit?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so maybe you should freeze it. Think about that. Sign up for text alerts when spending occurs on credit cards. Be their text alert person, so you can see if something is getting off course.
Looks
right?
fishy.
Yeah. Download a call blocking app. There's lots of them out there. Put that on their phone, and I would just have a conversation with them to say, anybody that you don't recognize that number, if it doesn't come up a name, don't answer it. Let it go to voicemail.
Yeah.
And then let them have the voicemail, and you get yourself where you can access their voicemails and hear what's going on. So maybe you have a daily call, hey, just delete, or whatever that is. Become a duplicate receiver of any bank account, investments, financial statements, all of that. In fact, this couple, we are monitoring their bank accounts right now they're kind of in a weird in-between stage of not being able to go into care, and they don't really have anyone there to help them. And so, we're getting duplicate statements and kind of monitoring for any crazy activity. The bank can do that too. So you can put them on notification to be able to monitor for that. So don't hesitate to go talk to the bank and say, what can be done here? Ensure that you're named as that trusted contact. Like that story I shared in the beginning, we at least had someone to call. Now, it obviously didn't prove out to be the only resolution. But, just imagine that, they have a financial advisor they're working with. You're not on file. They get a victim of elder abuse, and they don't know who to call. They've never asked about family. There's a lot of advisors that just manage money. They don't get in depth like we get in depth.
Yeah.
So make sure you're the trusted contact on those financial institutions. That's really big. And then I say the biggest thing is take the time to meet them. Take the time to meet these financial institutions, their advisors, get to know them, let them get to know you. Okay, because I'm going to tell you, as an advisor, my antennas are up. If a kid shows up automatically into a situation that's never been there, my antennas are up. I don't like it. I don't like it 90% of the time, because what did I say about the 2/3 of elder abuse?
It's normally someone trusted, or a child, or related.
And we see it. We actually had one son convince the other two sisters to let them use all the investment money to build his guest house so mom could live in it. Mom died 3 years later. Sisters get nothing. Okay. I don't know how he convinced his sisters to do that, but I just saw a snake in the grass from the moment we saw it. So, get to know these advisors, not just for your sake, but for their sake, so y'all can be working together. Because I will tell you, most people in our industry have a story for why they're in our industry. They have a reason that they're doing this, and it's to help people. So let them help you, in the sense of knowing where things are at and finding where things are at and walking you through this protocol. And I think the last thing is be Larry and be present. If you're around, your parents are less likely to get abused.
Yeah.
Right? So make your presence known, because people will leave your parents alone.
Yeah.
And that's a biggie, right?
They don't seem as vulnerable.
That's right.
And it's easy to take advantage of.
That's right. We always talk about the importance of our culture in our business. And one of the, named cultures that we put on our bookmark and everything else is that we do what needs to be done when it needs to be done. This is something that needs to be done. So you need to do it. You don't need to procrastinate. You don't need to put it off. It's your parents. Protect them. It's you. Protect yourself, right? And life is busy, I know. But someday, this is going to be you, and you're going to wish you had somebody too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. My name is Angela Robinson with Kennedy Financial Services, right here on Life Planning 101. Join us every week. You don't want to miss it. Great information. God bless you.
Thank you for joining us for Life Planning 101, brought to you by Kennedy Financial Services of Eastland. Tune in every Monday morning at 8:30 on KATX and KWBY, and again on Saturday morning at 9 o'clock on KATX and KWBY for more Life Planning 101.
Advisory services offered through Smart Money Group, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Securities offered through Calton and Associates Incorporated, member FINRA SIPC. Kennedy Financial Services Incorporated is an independent of Calton and Associates Incorporated and Smart Money Group, LLC.